All right, let's bring in now Coach Desiree Ellis to speak to us about this team that was announced yesterday by herself. Coach, good morning and thank you so much for joining us this morning on the Weekend Report. It was a highly anticipated team announcement. We've been building up to this moment. We've seen a lot of camps, a lot of friendly matches that Banyana Banyana has played in the build-up to, of course, this announcement and the team's participation at this year's World Cup. You spoke about how difficult it was to select the final 23-player squad. Why was it difficult, Coach?
Good morning, Rachel. Good morning to everyone. We had such a tough group of players. It was becoming harder and harder to select in certain positions because there's so many good players. So I gave it myself until the very last minute to make that decision, because you look at, in the strikers department, you look at the defensive department, you look in the midfield department, there's so many good players. And I had to make sure that I get the mix right of youth and experience. I had to make sure that I get the combinations right. I had to make sure, that I get the depth right, because we have a lot of depth this time around. And, some of the decisions were very close and very tight. And that's what made it so difficult. Players have started raising their hands. The league has gotten better. Not where we want to be, though, but it's gotten better. Players have gotten better all round. In selection for World Cup year, there's always players raising their hands, and that's what made it so difficult.
And you also spoke about how it's going to be very important to get a squad where you have players who are versatile, firstly, experienced youth, and also players that can participate in the team for any eventuality that might likely happen at this year's World Cup. Talk to me about, those players that you have selected and how versatile the squad is.
I mean, you look at across our back line. Some of the players can play in right across the back line. Some of the backline players, we've seen Babanani playing as a DM. We've used her once before. We've used Bongeka as a DM. When we played Australia, when none of the players were available. Sibuleli can play at left back, in the midfield, on left wing. We've used Jermaine. Across the front three. Noxie has also played there. Tembi has played across the front three. Hilda Lindegan was probably play right across. Nomvula played at Westcon as an attacking midfielder. Robin has played for us in some of the friendly matches as a team and attacking midfielder. Rafil Johnny anyway. So it's very versatile, and it's players that have played in those positions for the national team. And that really helps us, going forward when we want to change the formation. Do we keep the same players on the field? Do we bring other players on? If we are playing a different formation, what lineup do we set out, etc.? How do we go about it? So we have to look at all of those things and make sure that we have the right personnel.
And the three players that you've selected as stand-in players, are they expected to also travel with the squad, or what is their role in this year's World Cup?
They will definitely travel with the squad until we get handed over to FIFA on the 18th. But they will also be on standby until our first game, in case anything happens. So they will travel with the team and be with the team during our preparation when we leave the country as well.
Right, and we played a package earlier on, and in part of that package we heard Lucas Radebe speak glowingly about the captain of the side, Rafile Johnny, who has been selected by you to captain this team at this year's World Cup. Talk to me about her leadership abilities and why specifically Rafile was selected as the captain of the Banyana Banyana team.
In the past we've had a group of captains. We felt it very important to build a group of leaders, but this is the biggest tournament we're going to. And Rafile Johnny has captained the team a lot over the last year and a half. So it was a given, that she would be the captain for me. She leads by example. She's not a big talker, but she motivates others around her, gives information and instruction to others around her, but also by her performance, We've used Tembi in the past as a captain. We've used Andili in the past as a captain, and I think they make a very good group of leadership besides the more senior players in the team who are the leaders in the team.
All right. So much talk around Banyana Banyana, Coach, has been about the fact that this team is heading to this year's World Cup as the African champions, WAFCON champions. and it's a 32-team tournament, and there are hopes that this is the team that can go past the group stages of this year's World Cup, particularly when we look back as to what happened in 2019 in France, where the team was knocked out at the group stages of this year's of that competition. Is that the aim now? What conversations are you having with your players with regards to making it out of the group stages and into the last round of 16, at this year's World Cup? Are those conversations happening with your team in camp at the moment?
Look, we definitely believe, it's important when you go to a tournament, players have individual goals, we have team goals, and I think any team that goes to a tournament wants to do well. And even though it's our second World Cup, we also have ambition. Yes, it's a tough group, but we know how well we can play. And those are some of the things that we've been thinking about to try and get out of the group stage, because we feel we have a team that can possibly do that. It's tougher this time around, though. In 2019, the top two and the two best third place. Now there's no best third place. It's got to be top two. So we got to make sure, that we get a positive result in the first game, and we take it game by game, and then concentrate on the next one and the next one. And then get to the out of the group stages, and then we see what happens. I think Morocco at Qatar has shown, if you execute your plans, if you really stick to your plans and the players execute the plans, what is possible. And this group has been amazing over the last year and a half, and I'm positive that they can do more amazing things.
Let's speak about what's has happened with the team in the last year, WAFCON champions, and the fact as well that the team has played a couple of friendly matches. There's been a lot of camps as well. Is this an indication that Banyana Banyana are taking this World Cup seriously, just looking at the caliber of teams that the team has played in the build-up to this World Cup?
Look, the World Cup is the biggest stage for any individual to participate in, and it's also where you want to test yourself, where you want to, people to remember you, where players are scouted. So, we want to go there, having gone to our first one and not getting the results we wanted, and going there and wanted to really put up a good performance. Like I said, this team has matured tremendously over the last year and a half, has played really, really well and gotten better. And that's, key for us, that the players have gotten better, because it really allows us to push them to the next level. We spoke about WAFCON and World Cup being two completely levels, and it definitely is. And our training has been geared towards that, and the players have been absolutely magnificent. The whole group of 36, though, have been magnificent in preparing, and now we will continue with our preparations. We know what we need to do. We've played against the bigger teams, and we've seen what we're lacking, and we're working on that as well.
And just a final one, of course, your last phase of preparation will be that friendly match against Costa Rica in New Zealand, which will be your home base, the home base for the team at this year's World Cup. What are you hoping to gauge from that match against Costa Rica, aside, of course, that is also heading to the World Cup?
Look, we don't want to give too much away, because we know our next game is Sweden. But we will use that also to see, what we still need to do, because that will be the last friendly before that. But we will try not to give too much away, because we know they will be watching. But we'll be working extensively in training on how we want to play. And when we look at that friendly, there's still a couple of days before our first game. And then we'll have to see what we still need to do before we're absolutely ready for that first game.
Coach Desiree Ellis, thank you so much for your time this morning on the Weekend Report. All the best of luck for this year's World Cup. Of course, that is Coach Desiree Ellis, the coach of Banyana Banyana, just speaking to us about that squad that has been announced by her last night, and also saying that she had, up until 2 days ago, had not selected her final squad. So that's how difficult it was in selecting this final squad heading to this year's World Cup. That's all.